1 in every 5 women in the United States will suffer from an eating disorder during their lifetime. And on any given day, more than 30 million Americans overall, men and women.
This week is National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, something one West Michigan woman's been creating every week for the past 5 years. Larry Figursky joins us now with her story.
Rachel Stile was a successful high school and cross-country runner, but also one of the every 5 you guys mentioned, one who saw her career peak and then quickly crashed under the struggles of an eating disorder. 5 years later, a runner turned author, a sufferer turned healer.
As I looked into the mirror, as I climbed onto that scale every morning, as I crawled into bed every night, stomach growling, mind racing, heart anxious, I laughed and I cried. I soothed the aching, empty belly, and I whispered, "She is mine."
They are words of experience.
Do you know how much I want to stop doing this to myself?
Of sadness and shame.
Do you know how much this tears me apart, not just during the races?
Anxiety and fear.
Every minute of every hour of every day.
What was the lowest point in all this for you?
The binge eating disorder was the worst. Not performing well in my running, feeling like I was disappointing my teammates and my coach, and feeling like there wasn't going to be like happiness ever.
Ever?
Yeah.
As a high school senior, Rachel Stile was the leader of the Granville cross-country team.
Good job, Rachel!
A mentor to a young team, yet unknowingly in need of one of her own.
The anorexia actually developed outside of running. My sister was taking a medication that reduced her appetite. I saw her body changing, and I thought, oh, maybe exercise isn't the thing that changes your body, it's how you control food. So I started controlling food, cutting things out, lost a little weight, started running faster, and saw that my running times were improving.
Fueled by the competition of running, she became obsessed with food restriction.
And it wasn't like I was overweight in high school or anything, I was a healthy body shape. But as the times improved and my weight dropped, I made that big connection and started counting calories, thinking about food, researching food. My sleep schedule was arranged around food. I had no flexibility. I started isolating myself from my friends and my teammates, all in the pursuit of, losing weight and running faster.
And as a freshman at Aquinas College, she did, helping to lead the Saints to the NAIA Nationals, where she finished 6th overall.
I know a lot of people saw my drastic improvement, and I was really happy with that, but I knew that the obsession was ruining my life too. I just didn't know who to tell or if it was really bad enough to get help.
Suddenly, Rachel found herself running in silence.
I wasn't talking to anyone about what was going on, and that silence is what kept me hiding it for years and what made me so anxious and fearful and ashamed.
As her weight plunged and muscles weakened, Rachel's body began to break down. A series of strains and pulls, a severely fractured kneecap, and in between a complete 180 into binge eating.
It's very common because if you're restricting food for so long, your body is going to fight back to get the calories it needs. Your body overrides your mind, and the cravings and intensity of wanting that food is overwhelming. I could not control it.
Which led to a constant cycle of restricting and binging.
And that's why a lot of people also fall into bulimia once they start binge eating.
Finally, Rachel found the courage to seek help from her family and eventually a therapist and dietitian.
I was someone who had all the discipline and willpower in the world years prior, and suddenly I had none of it. Like, it just felt really shameful.
Still, Rachel took her recovery process public through a blog about herself and her struggles.
And I started it mostly because I wanted to explain the intense weight gain I was experiencing and why my times were not as fast as before.
The blog quickly turning into a website where others were suddenly sharing their stories.
Because I remember how scary and how alone I felt and how I thought I was the only one in the world dealing with this. And I was frustrated that no one else was really talking about it.
The response so overwhelming, with so many asking for help and advice, Rachel wrote a book about her experiences, Running in Silence.
I didn't know how else to explain it without feeling more exposed than I already felt.
Now a high school coach at her alma mater.
There you go, girl! Rock it out today, you got it!
For the past 3 years, Rachel's been taking the message to students, parents, and coaches off the course as well.
It's our responsibility to be able to look for these kind of things.
Speaking to dozens of groups, creating awareness and sharing what to look for and how to help.
Parents and coaches and other peers can see how common this is and maybe look for the signs.
Today, the young lady, once desperate for help, is happily trying to provide it for others.
They started looking to me for hope. I realized if I could start giving other people hope and telling my story, and if I can get out of this, they can too.
And now it's working.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who are now very thankful for that. Pretty amazing young lady. If you'd like more information, we have links set up to Rachel's site. Also some other resources for you right now at woodtv.com. And you know, we've all heard about eating disorders, but until you really get into a story of somebody, you don't really realize the dark places that it takes people.
No, and she talked about how she felt isolated, that she couldn't share this with anyone.
Right.
She had to hide it.
Yes.
That people need to know that there's ways to get help.
Yeah, that's the common line. She says most people who do contact her, they think they're the only ones and nobody else really understands.
Yeah, and she really evolved too with her illness.
Yeah.
I mean, with the anorexia, then into bulimia, and then trying to understand that and working through it.
Right.
And she's got a lot of advice to give.
Yes, she does. She's had a lot of different, and as I said, with the book itself, there were so many people asking for her story, but it's just one of many. So, again, resources we have set up, whether it's Rachel's site or others that you'd like to check out, just because it is a thing that goes in silence for so many people. So
That's right.
yeah.
All right.
Amazing young lady, though.
Yeah, she is. Thanks, Larry.
Thank